Good early afternoon. We are live. I'm Andy Andrews. You've joined us on the Blue Plate Special. If this is your first time, you are in for, I started to say a treat, but maybe for confusion. I don't know. This is, we don't know what happens sometimes here on the Blue Plate Special, but we are broadcasting live from Wisdom Harbor Studios in beautiful downtown Orange Beach. We're in the financial district of Orange Beach, Alabama. We're on the skyscraper. This is the tallest building in Orange Beach. So here from the top of the beach, we are Wisdom Harbor Studios. I'm wearing a shirt from Sand Dollar Lifestyles, which is right down this way. They are the cornerstone here of what we lovingly call the wharf. We know that's a mispronunciation, but it's just so easy to say the wharf. And so we think it's more fun to call this place the wharf. And we would like to spread that pronunciation. We would appreciate that wherever you go and whenever you tell people you've been with us, you can say, yeah, we were with Andy Andrews at Wisdom Harbor Studios down there in Orange Beach, Alabama. You know, it's the big shopping area, the wharf. And maybe they'll come into town and call it the wharf, and we'll have had a part in embarrassing somebody. So that's part of my goal in life, is to make people laugh. And if you get somebody embarrassed, you can laugh at them. You know, my daddy used to tell me, they're not laughing at you, they're laughing with you. And I understand today that, no, they were pretty much laughing at me, I think. We have a whole bunch of people. Show them out there, Matthew. We have a whole bunch of people out here today. Waving, yeah. And so we have Living Science Academy with us. We're very excited about them. They're on their annual visit here. And I'm glad you guys have good weather. I know when you came in Sunday, it was a frozen hell. It was so cold. Marcy Taylor, good morning from Pasco, Washington. Rainy and 40 degrees. It's nice here today. Bonnie Nix from Kentucky. It was good to see you and Frank this past week. Good afternoon, everyone. I shared. Don't get it taken. Dina Kilpatrick says, don't get it taken down, whatever you talk about. You know, we broadcast on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter X, and we also broadcast on wisdomharbor.com, which is our streaming service. And if you haven't joined wisdomharbor.com, come on, you guys. It's cheap and it's incredible. Howard Packer. Oh my gosh, Howard Packer. Hello from the SS Norway. How are you doing, buddy? Howard and I used to work on the cruise ship, the Norway, which at the time was the world's largest cruise ship. And when was that, Howard? That was about 150 years ago. Dave Huco, good afternoon to you. Margaret Davis Haupt, hello from sunny Northeast Mississippi, and still want to visit us. Well, come on, we're waiting on you. Heather Olson from rainy Utah. The mountains just got 10 inches of snow last night, and you shared. Thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing this with your friends and sharing this with your page. Dina said, don't get this taken down no matter what you say. It's because last week, what did I even say?
You're talking about energy efficiency and regulations and appliances.
Yeah, I was talking about energy efficiency, regulations, and appliances, and Facebook deemed that anarchy or something, and they shut it down. So, welcome to the Soviet States of America. Caleb Driscoll, good afternoon. 61 degrees in southern Mississippi. Judith DeWitt from Spokane Valley, Washington. We got them from all over. We got a great show for you today. I don't think this is going to get us shut down, but it might. We're talking about something with the FDA, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. I mean, because there's people at Facebook right now going, hey, he's fixing to do it again. He's fixing to do it again. But I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to talk about misleading food labels. Okay, I think this is something we all need to know. I'm gonna make sure that Polly, my wife, knows about this. By the way, is everybody good out there? I don't know if you guys saw when we put the camera on everybody, but everybody out there is in hot tubs today. I don't know if you could see that I know you saw some people waving, but we've got hot tubs in the studio today, and everybody's in hot tubs. So don't be splashing each other if you don't mind. It's a lot of cleanup to have to move these hot tubs, but we want our audiences to be comfortable and to have a great experience. And so sometimes we cater this with steak dinners. Sometimes we do hot tubs. Sometimes we have dancing humans to come in and entertain. Dave Briley. David Briley, it's good to see you are here. And thank you for being here. Dave Briley was a great influence in my life when I was growing up. And so, I mean, that means you're still influencing my life, Dave. So if you want to keep watching, I hope you're not embarrassed by how you have influenced me. Okay, so misleading labels. How do we get into this? If all foods could live up to the claims that they make on their packaging, we would be one healthy population, I'm thinking. Unfortunately, food and nutrition labels often cause a lot of confusion for grocery shoppers if they pay attention at all. But in fact, there was a study done by Consumer Reports that shows that nearly 59% of consumers have a hard time understanding nutrition labels. And I believe that. Because I'll ask Polly about something at home and she'll say, read the label, and I'll read the label and I'll say, well, what's that mean? And she'll say, well, I think it means so-and-so and so-and-so. And if you look at those first things, but at the supermarket, if you want the healthiest foods, you need to learn how to read these labels, and you need to read them carefully. Many of us read them carefully, but even the smartest shoppers can be fooled by some of the claims that are found on the front of these food packages. And you guys with Living Science Academy, I mean, you look around. There's older people here. I mean, we have already eaten so much crud in our lives that it's over for us, okay? But you guys can dig in and know what you're eating. The misleading stuff on the labels, I got to say, is intentional. I mean, there's nothing unintentional about this, because if the marketing is done well, these labels slip through the radar of critical thinking. And these labels are designed to make you think emotionally. And before you know it, you've picked up a box of junk food masquerading as healthy stuff. So some of the terms on the front of food packages are not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. The manufacturers use colorful images, product names, and they do claims that give these foods a health halo. It's like, let's make them think it's healthy. And in some cases, the claims are factually true, but they can be incredibly misleading. So today, I have assembled the top 10 claims to ignore. And we're going to explain these top 10 claims. Here's the first one. Lightly sweetened. Okay? Now, lightly sweetened suggests that a product would have very little sugar, but that's not always the case. For example, just a cup of Morning Summit cereal that is labeled lightly sweetened has 14 grams of added sugars, and slightly sweetened Gold Peak iced tea has 16 grams of sugar added to 12 ounces of liquid. Now, the FDA doesn't even have the FDA doesn't even have a definition for lightly sweetened. The terms that the FDA has definitions for are sugar-free, and that has to contain less than 0.5 gram of sugars. They have a definition for reduced sugar. Reduced sugar has to contain at least 25% less sugar than a comparable product. And they have a definition for no added sugars. You know what no added sugars means? It means no added sugar. I mean, it's no added sugar ingredients are added to the food. But lightly sweetened, they don't even have a definition for. So these manufacturers, the marketing teams can put lightly sweetened on there, and it means absolutely nothing. Here's one. I love this one. Made with real vegetables or fruit. Okay, the ingredients that are listed below the nutrition facts. Now pay attention to this. The ingredients listed below the nutrition facts on the panel, that little panel, they're in order of weight. Okay, these nutrition facts are, the ingredients are listed in order of weight. So the first few are the only ones that really count. And if the ingredient is listed below the first 4 or 5, there's not much of it in the product. And so here's an example. In the case of Simply Lay's Veggie Poppables, and on the front of the bag it says, made with real veggies on the package. Well, the only vegetables listed in them are spinach and tomato powder, and they are listed 10th and 11th in the ingredients list, which means there ain't very much of even the powder in it, much less real veggie. Welch's Fruit Snacks correctly state that fruit is our first ingredient, but second and third in line are corn syrup and sugar, effectively negating any real benefits from the fruit. Now, I want you to get this. Here's an addendum to this sugar thing that'll blow your mind. Watch out for sugary junk food that doesn't list sugar as the first ingredient. By not listing sugar as one of the first ingredients, the marketing company is implying that the sugar content is not very high. But food contains many forms of sugar, and what a food's ingredient list contains are often not individually in high enough amounts to require them to be listed first, second, or third on the food label. Grouped together, however, the combination of several forms of sugar can still add up to nothing more than a processed piece of rock candy. So here's some of the various names to watch out for, the various names that sugar is camouflaged in. Corn syrup solids, crystal dextrose, evaporated cane juice. By the way, evaporated cane juice, you know what evaporated cane juice is? Sugar. It's cane sugar. If you pour out white sugar, that's evaporated cane juice. Okay, calm down. Evaporated cane juice. Fructose sweetener, fruit juice concentrates, malt syrup, maple syrup, molasses, concentrated fruit juice, hexitol. You know what hexitol is? Hexitol is a trademarked name that somebody made up for sugar. Do you remember? The older guys in here? Do you remember a breath mint called Certs? And the commercials were certs with Retsin. And it would go ding when it would go Retsin. Retsin was a made-up word that they trademarked, and Retsin is sugar. It is a made-up word that they trademarked. It meant nothing. Just like Hexatol. With Hexatol and Retsin. Inversol, isomalt, maltodextrin, malted barley, nectars, how you like that? Nectars, pentose, raisin syrup, and you get the picture. So don't fall for this sugar shell game. If sugar is your enemy, check the labels for all these aliases. So anyway, there's our diatribe on sugar. All right, here's one. And I love this one. You see this one everywhere. No cholesterol. See, cholesterol is found only in animal products. So when you see no cholesterol on a plant-based food, when you see no cholesterol on a jar of peanut butter, or you see no cholesterol on a jug of vegetable oil, they don't have cholesterol in the first place. I mean, none of them do. No peanut butter, no vegetable oil has cholesterol. No cholesterol. It's stating the obvious, but it's there to make you think it's a healthier product than the product next to it that doesn't have no cholesterol on it. It's marketing. It's marketing. Getting smarter out there? Yeah. Yeah. Me too. When I did this research, I was like, you gotta be kidding. Okay. Made with sea salt. There's a good one. Oh, oh my gosh. That is just a marketing wonder. Made with sea salt. Because the truth is that table salt, sea salt, they have the same amount of sodium in them. The same amount per serving. I mean, so what? So what, sea salt? Table salt and sea salt are exactly the same thing. Sodium chloride, also known as salt, sodium chloride is an ionic compound that has the chemical formula NaCl. And it represents a 1-to-1 ratio of sodium and chloride ions. Salt is salt. And so the only varieties of salt that might make a difference for you is texture. You know, ice cream salt with the big thing. You know, they have steak salt that's like grittier. And then there's fine. That's the only thing that makes a difference, because salt is salt. It's sodium chloride. All right, how about keto? This is a big thing now. And ketogenic foods contain little or no carbs or added sugars. But that doesn't automatically make them healthy. Cereal bars or cookies that say keto on the package, they're often ultra processed, a category of foods that are made with industrial ingredients like isolated proteins and sugar alcohols. And so isolated proteins and sugar alcohols, they don't have calories or raised blood sugar, but they're manufactured sweeteners. And questions have been raised about how safe manufactured sweeteners are. Right? I mean, you know, remember this, the sweet and low thing, and oh, it causes cancer in laboratory mice, and then the other one causes cancer. Then no, that doesn't cause cancer. I always just figured that maybe cancer was just hereditary in laboratory mice, and nobody could figure that out. Okay, wheat or multigrain. Just because the package says wheat or multigrain does not make it whole grain. you have to check the package for 100% whole grain or 100% whole wheat. You can also look for the word whole listed before the first ingredient in the ingredients list. Okay, but wheat, grain, once again, we could have like a speck of wheat in a whole loaf of bread. Wheat, it doesn't mean anything unless the percentage is at it. It's a marketing tactic. Gluten-free. Unless you have celiac disease or a gluten sensitivity, there is no health reason to avoid gluten. In fact, some gluten-free versions of breads, pasta, and tortillas can be much less healthy for you because they may be lower or lacking entirely in fiber than whole grain products. Tafoyan Bakery's gluten-free tortilla wraps, for example, have 0 grams of fiber. And to fluff them and to make them what they are, they can contain gums and other additives that push them into that ultra-processed food category. How about uncured? Uncured deli meats and uncured hot dogs are preserved with synthetic nitrates and nitrites, which may raise the risk of some cancers. But all uncured means is that the meat is preserved with celery seed powder or some other natural source of nitrates and nitrites. Uncured meats are not better for you because synthetic and natural nitrites and nitrates have the same effect on your body. Anybody out there eat potted meat? Have you guys even, you guys, have y'all even heard of potted meat? I don't think you want to hear of potted meat. You heard of Vienna sausages, right? Yeah. I had a friend one time talking about potted meat, and I'm like, oh. It's like canned meat spread, and it's gross. To me, that potted meat is just gross. But I told my friend, I said, you eat potted meat? He said, I do. I said, you're out of your mind. He said, I've seen you eating Vienna sausages. I said, yeah, I do. I eat a Vienna sausage every now and then. He said, you know what they make Vienna sausages out of, don't you? Like what? He said they make Vienna sausages out of what they scrape up off the floor when they get there making potted meat. Oh, God. Ooh. All right. How about this one? Natural. See, products labeled natural don't immediately equal healthy. Even junk food can come with a natural label if nothing artificial or synthetic has been included in it or has been added to it. A food that would not normally be expected to be in that food, if it's not in there, they can label it naturally. This means that even food products that are high in sugar, overwhelming in fat, loaded with salt, because salt is natural. Sugar is natural. They can legally make the claim to be natural. So watch out for natural. Superfoods and superfruits. Okay, now this is a common sense one. All plant-based foods are packed with vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that are super for you. And there's not one fruit or vegetable that is significantly better than the others. And so there's not a super, and the same thing goes for the word miracle on the label. There is no miracle food. There's no super food. The only thing super is the Blue Plate special. George Coster says Vienna sausages rule, and I agree. Big G. I like to take Vienna sausages and wrap them in those canned biscuits. Pig in the blankets. And it's an ultra processed. I mean, I'm blowing everything that I talked about by saying that I eat pig in the blankets, Vienna sausages. I don't even know what those biscuits are made of. I mean, it's some kind of dough that pops when you hit the can. Margaret Harp Davis says, very educational. Well, thank you. We try to be a part of helping you and your knowledge about life in general. And so if you overdose on salt or sugar, don't blame me. Ronnie and Kathy Garrett Snyder, you're saying you're so glad you can watch me again. It's been a long time, like 30 years. Have I been doing something for people to watch for 30 years? Maybe, but I have been doing it in a gluten-free atmosphere. Okay? So just remember, the next time you tune in to the Blue Plate Special, you're watching a sugar-free, gluten-free, all-natural show. That's what we try to be here. Hey, we're glad that you joined us today. I appreciate Living Science Academy being here and all you people who have joined them. And I think it's amazing that all these younger people gave the older people their chairs. So good for you. And that's why our concrete floors have been added with padding on the concrete so that you can sit, and you have your own life jackets in the water things. What do you call those water things? What was I calling them?
Sorry, I missed the last thing you're saying. SB was in here.
You're not paying attention?
Sorry.
What are you guys doing in there?
Well, we would like to talk about your major award.
Oh, my major award?
Yes. Did you know that you were awarded the Best of Baldwin 2024 for local author?
Thank you. Thank you.
You want me to go give it to him?
The best of Baldwin, the best author. Oh. Yes, the best author in Baldwin County. And why is that? Well, Winston Groom died. Fannie Flagg moved back to Los Angeles. Leslie Ann Tarabella has been keeping a low profile. But I kind of think being listed the best author in Baldwin County is kind of like being called the prettiest girl in a woman's prison. It's kind of a low bar. But I am honored. I mean, I'm teasing, but I am honored that people would think that. So hang this somewhere significant, like outside where people can see it. So what's your favorite books? That's what I would like to know, because I think we need to do a show on favorite books. We have authors on the podcast quite often. Did you see the podcast that came out today? We had Greg Sankey, who is the commissioner of the SEC, was our guest on The Professional Noticer. But we have a lot of authors that guest, and there's Leslie Ann Tarabella, who you voted for me twice. You put me over the top. I only voted for you once. You would have won if you hadn't have voted for me twice. Leslie Ann Tarabella, you need to get. Now there's some books you need to get. She's got 3 right now, and you need all of them. The Majorettes are back in town. What's the Hush Puppies one? Flinging Hush Puppies? Hot flaming Hush Exploding Hush Puppies. That's what it is. And then her Christmas book. But go online and look up Leslie Ann Tarabella. You will love her books. Heather Olson, you just read all 6 of Jack Carr's Terminal List series. Wow, yeah. We had Jack Carr on and then we had Harrison Scott Key recently, which I told him when he was on the podcast, I said, your book, The World's Largest Man, is one of the 2 funniest books I've ever read in my life. And he didn't even ask me, what's the other one? I was thinking he would say,
yeah, you're right.
what's the other one? But he didn't. Okay, good. Thank you. So what is the other one? The other one is Forrest Gump by Winston Groom. You know, Winston lived over here in Fairhope, and everybody's heard of the movie, but I found that book 10 years before anybody ever thought about making it into a movie, and I cried laughing out loud. I mean, that book is the funniest. It's one of the 2 funniest books I've ever read, and it's a brilliant book. It's a brilliant book because he's writing. You know, Forrest Gump is this mentally deficient person, and he's writing the book Forrest Gump in first person. So it's Forrest telling the story, and he is telling his story knowing that he is mentally deficient. And so to get into Winston Groom's mind on how he kept this straight and wrote it, it will blow you away. Dave Briley says he just read a book by David Brooks, How to Know a Person, The Art of Seeing Others Deeply and Being Deeply Seen. That sounds really good. Rebecca Scheffler, you're reading Rick Bragg's Ava's Man right now. Whew. That is a killer book. You know, that is Jerry Jenkins' favorite book, Ava's Man, which I kind of cringed when Harrison Scott Key, he said, yeah, I read the Left Behind series. That's kind of ridiculous. And I'm like, yikes. Because Jerry Jenkins is like one of my really good friends. So, Jerry, I didn't say it was ridiculous. George Cosler's reading One Icy Night by W.A. Pepper. You can tell me later what it's about. One Icy Night. I was talking to Colonel Bill Larimore the other day, and he was reading the Longmire series, and he said I'm getting tired of Vic, you know, the undersheriff, the girl. And he said because her language is just her bad language is becoming more and more frequent. And I said, well, which book are you on? And he said, like 9 or 10. I said, well, there's 20-something of them, and so trust me, her bad language, it'll get more, it'll get frequenter, definitely. Christy, my sister, says, I loved Left Behind. I did too. Jacob Ward, you're reading Is There a Man in the House by Charles Stanley. Wow, that's enough. Just the question. My favorite book is not one of the two funniest I've read, actually. Even though Forrest Gump, it made me laugh out loud so often and so much. And then when I read World's Largest Man by Harrison Scott Key, I mean, I remember reading the part about his wife having the baby, and I was in a hotel in Phoenix, and I had to get out of bed and put the book down and walk around and catch my breath and make my face come back. It was driving me out of my mind. John Mason Smith. John Mason Smith has voted me the best author at the Wharf who has a live stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank you. I'll take that. I don't have to compete with Leslie Ann Tarabella for that one. My favorite book of all time. Now, I got to tell you, before I tell you my favorite book of all time, I have three authors that I love that do their own thing. One is Sean Dietrich. The other is Michael Perry, who Michael Perry is kind of like the Yankee version of Sean Dietrich, or Sean Dietrich is the Southern version of Michael Perry, and Leslie Ann Tarabella. Those three do short form better than anybody I've ever seen. What they're doing is not always short stories, but and to call it commentary would be to serious it up more than it needs to be, even though sometimes they are serious in what they're, but they do short form. You know, you can, they have published books. You know, The Majorettes Are Back in Town and Exploding Hush Puppies are both short form books. They have, 2 and 3 and 4 page things in them. And Betty Rayford said she recently read Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe. An enjoyable book that gave you new insight into World War II. You know what? I like the name of that. I haven't heard of that book, but I'm going to check that out. Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe. I love that. We were talking Living Science Academy folks, and I were talking about World War II before the show, and there is a book that I read about the Pacific Theater, and it's 40 Thieves of Saipan, which is probably, that hit me in a different way. All the books, and I've read several hundred on World War II, but that book hit me and gave me a different perspective on our service men and women. And it took these 40 guys that were Marines that fought in the Pacific, and it carried them from enlistment onto old age, and told whatever happened. Howard Packer says The Little Things is an all-time favorite. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. But the 40 Thieves of Saipan, it woke me up to something that I never had really thought about, which is, when we say, thank you for your service to service people, or we talk about service people and say these are people who have served America, and there are some people who gave their lives for their country. Well, when we say they gave their lives for the country, we generally mean that they died in battle, that they died in service of the country. But following some of these, following the lives of some of these people after World War II that lived through the battles and lived to 90 years old, I don't think you could dispute that a lot of these guys gave their lives for their country, because their lives were kind of over when they got back. I mean, if you're 90 years old and you're still diving under the table when thunder happens in the sky, when you can't sleep in a bed anymore, when you can't sleep without horrific nightmares, when you wake up and you're choking your wife and you have to be locked into a different room at night because you're scared what you're going to do. They gave their lives for the country too. And so it was an odd thought that I had about that. Alex Kershaw is another author we've had on the podcast, and Alex Kershaw has written 10 or 11 World War II books. He's got Patton's Prayer coming out, but he wrote one that you cannot miss, and it's called The Bedford Boys. The Bedford Boys. Don't miss that one. So let me end by telling you what my favorite book of all time is. My favorite book of all time is The Old Man and the Boy. The Old Man and the Boy, written by Robert Rourke, and it was actually written in 1956. This book was written before I was born, and it's the story, the true story of him as a kid before the Great Depression. It was set in the 20s, and he was a kid and in North Carolina, on the coastal area of North Carolina, and he was really raised by his grandparents. And so it was his granddad was the old man. He was the boy, and he's telling these stories of all this old man taught him, and hunting and fishing and all the outdoor stuff. And it's the best book I've ever read. So, and I've read it 3 times to make sure it's the best book I've ever read. Rebecca Scheffler says that my books are her favorites. Thank you. I appreciate that. People ask, am I working on a book now? Yes, I'm working on 5 of them. I've just got to figure out which one to finish. Tom Henley, who is a character in the Sergeant Springs book. Tom Henley, Tom and Terry live in Jackson, Alabama. And Tom says Michael Perry, his book, Peaceful Persistence, his brief essays, he said, you'll laugh till your stomach hurts. That's true. That's true. Michael Perry cracks me up. And I guess, should I tell people about Michael? Michael is coming here. He is coming to Orange Beach. And I think those dates are March. I think he flies in March 29th and is staying for like 3 days. So we're going to have him in the studio. We're going to do a book signing, and we will announce that because we want you to be able to meet Michael. He is one of the smartest, funniest people I've ever met in my life. And so you will love Michael Perry, and I want you to have the opportunity to meet him. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Living Science Academy. Thank all you guys who come in and hang out with us. We appreciate it. They're waving at me. I got something else I got to go do. Maybe finish a book. I don't know. But thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next week. We're not going to be here this Thursday, but we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.